Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, August the 19th, race number 7 at Bellamore. It's the CTT and TOC stakes for fillies and mares going 1 3/8 miles, 3 turns over the Bellamore turf course. Want to view free Formulator past performances for this race? Head to the Race of the Day page at DRF.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel and bet this card with DRF Bets. Let's take a look at this field. We're going to scratch out of here the number 7 Fearless Girl, and we're going to have a big favorite in here, the 3 Neige Blanche. Please scan the QR code for Race of the Day access on your mobile device. And Mike, Neige Blanche deserves to be a favorite. Leonard Powell's done a sensational job with this mare. She won this race last year, and she's won 4 of her last 5.
Yeah, she just comes into this in really good form. The distance is no problem for her. She has a versatile running style too. So it feels like she's not going to be compromised by pace in this race. There's just a lot to like, Dan, and she's pretty clearly the horse to beat.
I love that you pointed out her versatility from a running standpoint, running style standpoint, because we still have the Timeform US pace projector. I'm not sure I believe it. Macadamia is stretching out off some faster pace races. I guess I could see her close to the pace. Freedom Lass as well. The good news is I think he could play the break with a horse like Neige Blanche, and I doubt she's going to be that far behind. I wouldn't be surprised if she's actually in front.
Yeah, I mean, they could certainly ride her forward in this race. She's perfectly comfortable on the early lead, as she's shown, a couple of times recently. But it doesn't really matter to her. If this pace is a little bit stronger, she's just going to sit off. And that was actually the case in this race last year, Dan. The pace was a little bit more solid for the distance. She just sat off it and came with a good finish.
I want to remind everybody, visit timeformus.com. Once scratches are made official, Fearless Girl will be out. This pace projector will update. Let's start things off with the number 1. That's Scarabea going out for trainer Jack Sisterson. This is a rock-solid filly. She's only won once in her career, but she's kept really good company. Stakes placed 2 back in the Possibly Perfect, a race in which she was wired by Neige Blanche, but she was kind of in between horses most of the way, over and behind horses in the stretch. She ran on okay.
Yeah, I thought that effort was fine from her. You're right. She was in between horses for much of that race, and Neige Blanche was just sort of controlling things on the front end there without any pressure. This horse ran pretty well in there. I know they took a drop with her last time. She was the favorite. She was defeated by a horse that she's going to meet up with again here. The more I look at that race on July 28th, Dan, I kind of, if I was taking somebody out of that race, I would probably take this horse. I just feel like her hand was forced a little bit on the backstretch of that race. She was sitting a good trip, and then she had to go when somebody made a move to her outside, and I think it really worked against her.
I think you're absolutely right, because that pace was slow, and then all of a sudden, at about the 7/16 pole, they really turned up the heat, and Scarabea had to move early. She ran okay that day. She draws inside. She can trip out. She can get the distance. Maybe it's her time. 1 for 14, though, lifetime. The 2 is Freedom Lass. She finished behind Neige Blanche and Scarabea in the Possibly Perfect. I thought all in all she had a good trip in that race. She saved ground in behind the leader in the pocket. She had her chances. She was only beaten a length. Last time out, she was beaten again at 1 1/8 and a second level allowance.
Yeah, they cut her back a little bit last time. They gave her a little bit of class relief. She did wind up wide in that race. I'm still not sure how well she ran. The race 2 back against a couple of these, she ran fine in there. I suppose you could look at it and say she was always down on the rail, always in behind Neige Blanche on the lead. And so maybe she just didn't have any room. I just thought it was hard to tell that if she had that much run in there, Dan. I kind of feel like she finished right where she was going to finish, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
The mare to beat is Neige Blanche, the number 3 for Leonard Powell, 9 for 19 lifetime, 2 wins at Bellamore, the defending champion in this race. Here's her performance in the Possibly Perfect on June 19th, her most recent start. She went right to the lead. She set a fair pace. She turns into the stretch in front. You see Scarabea in between horses. You see Freedom Lass in behind horses, and Neige Blanche just keeps on chugging.
Yeah, she doesn't get away from this field, but she's never really letting any of these horses into the race. They don't get anywhere near her to the finish. She's just holding on, doing what she has to do. A really good ride there. They put her right on the lead. She was just doling out the fractions. Whenever she had to pick it up, she picked it up. And then she just never let that field into the race. And again, they don't have to ride her that way, but they certainly could if this pace isn't fast. I mean, there's just a lot to like. She's a really, really hard horse to knock.
Multiple graded stakes winner, grade 1 placed, simply the class of this field. The 4 is almost a factor, making her third start off of a very lengthy layoff for trainer Carla Gaines. Perhaps you could make the argument that she's slowly rounding herself back into form. They brought her back going down the hill at 6.5, a distance likely too short for her, and she ran on okay. And last time out, they really stretched her out. Maybe that was too much. And even performance, although she did find some traffic in that race, I think almost a factor can take a step forward, but she's going to really have to take a step forward from a speed figure standpoint.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I get that there's a trouble comment for her. I didn't really see that much trouble for her on that race. And again, it's that same race that we were talking about before with Scarabea, where, Scarabea was forced to go early. This horse was basically making the same run that the winner was making in there, Dan, sort of moving in tandem with that horse. And as far as I can tell, she just wasn't good enough. But maybe there was an excuse in there somewhere that I missed.
Macadamia, the number 5, is a multiple Group 1 winner in her native Brazil, going middle distances. And now she's going to make her third start in North America for trainer Phil D'Amato. And I guess she's taken slight step forward from start 1 to start 2 in North America. And maybe the extra distance is going to help. But I kind of want to take a wait and see approach, even though these connections are very, very sharp. And this filly should show speed.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way about her. I get that she could fall into a trip in this race, and these are really sharp connections. So maybe she's a dangerous horse in here. I just personally don't like any of her races and don't see why she's supposed to be better going longer, Dan. They're going to stretch her all the way out here. I'm not so sure it's going to help her.
Distance isn't going to be an issue for the 6, Sister Otoole, who rallied for second last time out at Delaware, going 1 3/8 in the Grade 3 Robert G. Dick Memorial. I thought Kendrick Carmouche gave her a nice trip in this race. She was able to save ground turning into the third turn and into the stretch. And Sister Otoole does just fine to finish second in here. The prior start came over an absolutely boggy turf course in the Sheepshead Bay where you just want to draw a line through it. It is worth noting that even though she didn't run well over the bog in the Sheepshead Bay, she does seem to handle courses with give in it. And at Bellamore, she's going to get really firm turf.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're not going to really want to give her too much of an excuse for the conditions, the course conditions of her last couple of races. She ran fine in the Dick. I don't know. It's not the kind of performance that made me feel like she's going to take some kind of huge step forward here. Overall, her form, I guess, makes her a contender, Dan. I wouldn't want to take too short a price on her. I feel like she's going to take a little money in here.
We have seen horses, however, based on the East Coast, turf horses at that, chip out to Southern California and make hay. The 7th place finisher from the Robert G. Dick returned to finish second in the Glens Falls with a 93 buyer at Saratoga. Bellamore is up next. She's on a roll. She's won 3 of her last 4 races, 2 for 2 on turf. Looks like she's found a home on the sod for trainer Simon Callahan. Here she is winning her second level condition, getting to the inside to try to split horses here, looking for some room, now gets to the outside and is able to wear them down. She showed a lot of agility in this race, and the daughter of Empire Maker, she looks like a big, strong filly that can get this distance, and she has some upside as well.
Yep, agree with all that stuff. I thought she ran pretty well in that race. The trip ultimately just really worked out for her, but I did like the way that she finished it once she got into the clear. I mean, I guess, Dan, you take away the dirt starts on her card there, and you got a filly who's really has never been beaten in a race. She did get disqualified from one of those, but 2 for 2 on synthetic, 2 for 2 on turf. As far as hitting the wire first goes, it feels like she could take a pretty big step forward here. I think she's an interesting horse if she's a price.
3-year-old filly number 9, Duvet Day, is going to step up into the stakes ranks for the first time, but she's won her last 2 races, and both of them have come at 1 3/8. Maybe she's found her distance. Here's the race we talked about before. First level allowance where the pace really heated up, and maybe Duvet Day benefited because she kind of let those horses go, picked up some cover, altered course to the outside, and wore them down despite drifting out a little bit in the stretch. Her buyers are light compared with some of the others, but she looks like a filly that'll stay all day long.
Yeah, I think that's the positive for her. Obviously, those last 2 races sort of suggest that she's found what she wants to do, and maybe that'll be enough to get her over the hump. And again, we sort of talked about that race we just watched already a little bit. I just feel like she was a beneficiary of dynamics in that race, and it just made me not want to take her back here as they step her up in class. But certainly, she's eligible to improve.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRFTV video offerings. Top pick time. I understand everything you're saying about Duvet Day, and you might be right, Mike. 6-1 on the morning line seems a little bit light, and maybe she will drift a bit. But I do like the way she's finished off her races. She seems to stay going 1 3/8. She's comfortable at Del Mar, and I think she can stay close to the pace and be somewhat adaptable. I also think as a 3-year-old, she has a little bit of upside, but Neige Blanche is certainly the horse to beat.
Yeah, she is. I took her on top. I realized she's going to be an odds-on favorite in here. I just think she's really, just way the horse to beat in here. If they go, way overboard on her, Dan, and make her too short a price, maybe I'll try to talk myself into the 1 because I do think she was compromised last time. And I think her very best race gives her a real chance in here.
Her race in the Possibly Perfect was right there with Neige Blanche, and I think that she can trip out here under Declan Cannon. Mike's going Neige Blanche. I'll see if Duvet Day can take a step forward in Friday's DRF race of the day, the CTT and TOC.